So when we create views, one of the things that users often created folders for in Microsoft Windows was to be able to have groups of documents that were smaller. You don't want to have 5,000 documents sitting in one place because it's really hard to be able to browse them and to navigate and to find documents. So what we want to be able to do is to create easy ways that we can navigate larger document sets. If we have 100 documents in this library, we can actually force SharePoint to show them all to us at once. But as soon as we pass that mark, we get to 200, 300, we're going to have to page. And none of us like to do that in a browser. It's not that we hate it, it's just that we don't do it. There's a lot of evidence to support the fact that you and I will look at one page, and if we're forced to click to go someplace else, we might even leave the site. So, as we're thinking about how this is going to work, we want to be able to create a series of views that allow users to see what it is they want to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh my page and see what we have here. So now we have two documents about orientation, one about SharePoint, one about Word. Let's imagine that one of the things that we'd like to do is we'd like to be able to view documents by their purpose, by their application. So I'm going to create a view that is grouped by app and sorted by app. Now, if you as a user just go in here and I say I'd like to see these in order by app, it's really easy. All you do is click and it will actually sort them. We can sort them in ascending order or descending order. We can sort them by what version of Office they're for. We can filter and so on. Anytime that we allow multiple values, by the way, you'll notice here it says this column type can't be sorted. The reason is that this field allows multiple values. And it can't sort because even though these say 2013, 2010, and so on, one of them could have 2003 and 2010, and that makes it unsortable from, well, not just from SharePoint's point of view, from our point of view. So that's the downside of that multiple value choice. But let's say we want to create a view that is a sorted view or create a view that is a group view. A couple of ways to do it. You can go to Library and you can create a new view here. We have one view. It's called All Documents. We could have also come here to create columns, and I want you to know that you can do that. But I almost always am going to prefer to go back to my library settings, and I want to create a new view. That's right down here at the bottom. If I were in a calendar views are very specific to calendars. A datasheet view is going to look like Excel. There's not a reason for me to create one because I can switch from a standard view to a datasheet view. Gantt views are used for projects, and if you have SharePoint Designer, you can create custom views. Most of the time, if you're not in a calendar, we're going to create one of these two types of views, and I will almost always begin by creating a standard view. The view name is also going to become part of the URL, but nobody cares quite as much about this because it's towards the end. You could choose, therefore, to use Camel Case and to do something like as our name. I'm going to sort these by application. You can put a space in here. It will create the same issue in a URL. You can put an underscore if you prefer. When I'm sorting, I use the word by because people understand, oh, that's sorted by app, and I don't need to say sort. Just say by app. I'm not going to make this one the default view yet. We'll talk about that later. There are two kinds of views that you can create because you're a site owner. You can create a view that only you use, or you can create a view that's a public view, and that is the default. Users who are not site owners can't create public views. Here are all the columns that are available. Like I said, there's lots of other information that SharePoint's storing for us.
But I didn't see any of those columns when we were looking at it before, right?
No, because they're not in the view.
Okay.
They're just in the database. And that's one of the cool things about views is we don't have to overwhelm people with all this information. We can just show them, if we want them to know who created a document, we can add that to the list. If it's not important, then we don't need it. So one of the things that we decide when we create a new view is what do we want to show. Type is just that little icon. It doesn't take up any space. And name gives us an easy way to identify the document. It's often true that we want to know that a document hasn't been changed for 5 years. That's not a bad thing.
So this thing that says link to document with edit, how is that different from the name that's down before? I see name on here 3 times.
So that's a great question. So if I just use name link to document, let me add that. Well, let me add that in and let me show you, because this one will just be a hyperlink. That's all it will do. This one actually has a drop-down menu that allowed us. We opened up that menu and I said we could edit the properties of the document. That's because we were using the one that has an edit menu.
Okay.
This one simply allows us to be able to click a hyperlink and open the document.
I see. So one is about editing the properties, and the other one is about editing the document, opening the document itself.
All this one does that's down in position 19 right now, all it does is open the document. That's all it's capable of. This has a lot more choices. And then this one is used in forms, and it's for opening forms. It's sort of a legacy thing. It's very similar to link to document. Okay. But yeah, there's all these fields, and whether or not we show them is up to us. And that's what we're about right here in the view. So let's say that I wanted to, let's actually get rid of this name link to document for right now so we can see the other version. And then this one I'm going to place as in the number 2 position. When I do that, everything else gets slid down. Now the only ones that are visible are the ones with check marks, so we don't care that it's moving some of the others around. And if I don't want to show the document version, I could turn it off. If I do, I turn it back on. Maybe I want to know how big the file is. We'll add that. So this is the kind of choice that I make about a view. Do I want to show this? Do I not want to show this? If I don't need, for example, to show file size, then I won't. And another alternative, by the way, to the edit menu is to include an edit. This is an edit link that will allow me to go in and edit the document. So that's a lot like name, by the way. There are actually 4 ways to do that. So here are all the columns. Let's just right now go see what this looks like, and then we'll come right back in here. I'm going to click OK just to see what my field display looks like, and there it is. Okay. Now notice that I don't have a drop-down box here, an edit menu. All I have is a hyperlink that opens the document. That's because I chose name, okay, without an edit menu. All right. Modified and by whom I kept, app, and remember we added file size. This is what it looks like right now. And this is the view that I created. Let's go back in and mess around with this a little bit more. Okay. We go back down to our view. They're down here at the bottom. You will always see all of your views listed right here. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the by app view. Okay. This one actually allows me to edit the URL. So at this point, if I want to, unlike a document library, I can change the view name to get rid of the underscore. And if I wanted to, I can delete the underscore here because I don't need it. So the view, different from the library, actually allows me to edit the URL or the web address right here. Now, the name link to document we just saw. Let's go ahead and put in the name link to document with edit menu. Let's get rid of this one. There's no reason to have both of these. Let's swing this one into the number 2 position. I'm also going to move the app up before modified by. So I want it actually to be in the 1, 2, 3rd position is where app's going to go. And if, as you're moving these around, it's like there's a lot going on here. I want to be able to have it reorganize this. It would be nice if there was a button that said, okay, show me the current list, rearrange them in order. If I refresh right now, I lose my changes. So I don't want to do that. If I want to see what this looks like, the only way to get it to reorder is to say okay, and then to go back into library and library settings or to view settings and open up that view again. And when I do, it will have reordered in the numbers that I gave it. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. With app now in the 3rd position, I'm going to get rid of file size. That was just as a demo so you could see that.